In a region where influence is often measured in silence, few figures embody mystery and power like Chen Zhi, the elusive billionaire behind Prince Group. His sudden rise from an unknown businessman to one of Cambodia's most powerful tycoons has long defied logic. Within just a few years, he gained citizenship, amassed billions in real estate, banking, and media, and secured privileges few foreigners could ever dream of. To the public, he was a symbol of modern prosperity, but to investigators, diplomats, and intelligence analysts, he was something far more complicated, a potential link in China's growing shadow network across Southeast Asia. As Beijing deepened its regional presence through investments, ports, and smart city projects, Chen Zhi's empire expanded in perfect parallel. His business footprint mirrored the very map of China's strategic reach, stretching from Phnom Penh's financial district to Sihanoukville, home to projects built just miles from suspected military installations funded by Chinese state enterprises. Was this timing pure coincidence, or part of a larger coordinated effort by Beijing's civil-military fusion strategy? Could a billionaire's business success also serve as an instrument of intelligence and influence? In this investigation, we follow the money, the partnerships, and the quiet corridors of diplomacy that blur the line between commerce and covert strategy. Because in Southeast Asia's new battlefield, soldiers don't always wear uniforms, and billionaires don't always build for profit. When Prince Group first appeared on Cambodia's economic landscape, it looked like a miracle of modern capitalism. Between 2016 and 2020, the company expanded faster than any local conglomerate in history, acquiring land, launching banks, funding media outlets, and constructing towers that would reshape Phnom Penh's skyline. At the center of it all stood Chen Zhi, a man whose name seemed to materialize from nowhere. There was no public record of his early life in China, no known investors, and no official explanation for how he had amassed the vast sums required to dominate entire industries overnight. Yet, within a few short years, he was appointed as an advisor to the Cambodian Prime Minister, granted citizenship, and allowed to buy strategic coastal land near Sihanoukville, an area once off-limits to foreign ownership. It was this land, the glittering southern coast, that drew attention from both analysts and foreign governments. In 2019, satellite imagery showed that Chinese-funded construction in Sihanoukville was not limited to casinos and luxury condos. It included deep-water port facilities, long runways, and compounds with dual-use potential, civilian on paper, military in design. And among the companies holding property in these zones were subsidiaries and joint ventures under Prince Group. Whether by chance or coordination, Chen Zhi's business empire appeared to grow along the same geographical corridors as China's military and logistical expansion. Insiders described how Prince's investments were often pre-approved by government ministries before they were even announced, bypassing normal licensing procedures. Dozens of projects received fast-track environmental clearance, something unheard of for local developers. The question was simple: who was opening the doors for him? Multiple reports linked Chen Zhi's early success to networks of officials with ties to Beijing's United Front Work Department, an agency responsible for cultivating influence abroad. Others pointed to development partnerships between Prince subsidiaries and Chinese state-owned enterprises, SOEs, many of which were also involved in defense infrastructure and belt and road logistics. It was as if Chen Zhi's business model was designed not merely for profit, but for strategic alignment. Even the architecture of Prince's flagship projects reflected China's expanding presence. The Prince Central Plaza, for example, mirrored the urban planning of new cities in southern China, complete with surveillance systems supplied by Huawei and Hikvision. Meanwhile, Prince Bank began offering financial products that catered specifically to Chinese investors entering Cambodia, positioning itself as a bridge between mainland capital and local development. By 2020, the billionaire's presence had become so dominant that analysts began referring to him as Beijing's banker in Phnom Penh. He wasn't just building an empire, he was reshaping Cambodia's financial ecosystem in a way that favored Chinese integration. While local politicians celebrated his philanthropy and economic vision, others saw something more, an experiment in soft occupation through capital. And yet, through it all, Chen Zhi himself remained invisible. No interviews, no speeches, no press appearances. His empire spoke for him, and the louder it grew, the quieter he became. Was his silence a choice of humility, or the discipline of someone working under orders not entirely his own? Because in the story of Prince Group's unstoppable rise, every skyscraper built in Cambodia seemed to cast a shadow pointing back toward Beijing. If the early years of Prince Group's growth looked like a business miracle, the funding behind it looked more like a state operation. When investigators traced the origins of Chen Zhi's capital injections, they discovered that the lifeblood of his empire flowed through Chinese state-owned enterprises, companies that did more than build roads and skyscrapers. Many were tied directly to China's defense and intelligence ecosystem, quietly advancing the country's long-term strategic goals under the banner of development. Documents reviewed by analysts in Singapore and London reveal that several of Prince Group's largest projects were financed or co-managed by subsidiaries of China State Construction Engineering Corporation, CITIC Capital, and China Harbour Engineering, three of the most globally active arms of Beijing's civil-military fusion strategy. These firms, though presented as commercial investors, often serve dual purposes, blending private ventures with defense-related logistics. In the case of Chen Zhi, their joint projects were not limited to luxury condominiums or shopping malls. They extended to deep-water port facilities, fiber optic infrastructure, and special economic zones located near maritime corridors critical to China's presence in the South China Sea. One such collaboration, signed in 2018, outlined the construction of a commercial logistics park in Kampot province, conveniently situated less than 40 kilometers from the Ream Naval Base, a facility later confirmed by US intelligence to host Chinese military expansion. Though Prince Group was listed only as a financial stakeholder, internal memos from a Hong Kong intermediary revealed that part of the funding was transferred through a state-backed maritime research program. The purpose? To develop shared-use port capabilities. In diplomatic terms, shared use often means dual use, civilian and military. This blending of business and strategy was not accidental. It is the core of Beijing's geopolitical playbook, known as civil-military fusion. Under this doctrine, private companies are encouraged, and sometimes compelled, to support the state's security interests. From telecommunications to construction, every commercial entity becomes a potential instrument of national power. And in Cambodia, Chen Zhi became one of its most successful instruments. Sources familiar with regional intelligence operations have described Prince Group's financial model as strategic privatization, a mechanism that allows Beijing to fund infrastructure aligned with its goals while avoiding direct political liability. Instead of China signing official agreements that would draw scrutiny, companies like Prince acted as plausible proxies, local, friendly, and deniable. The arrangement gave China influence without the optics of occupation, and Chen Zhi access to limitless credit lines disguised as foreign partnerships. The symbiosis extended beyond construction. Financial data from the Hong Kong Monetary Authority showed that multiple BVI and Macau-based holding companies connected to Prince Group received synchronized cash inflows from SOE-controlled banks, including the Bank of China and China Development Bank. These transfers, often structured as development loans, carried unusually low interest rates, sometimes below 1%. In the opaque world of global finance, that kind of generosity signals strategic importance, not commercial risk-taking. Even Prince Group's branding echoed Beijing's tone. Its slogans, "Building the future together, harmony through prosperity," mirrored the messaging used in China's Belt and Road Initiative campaigns across Africa and Central Asia. Each project, from skyscrapers to resort towns, became a billboard for soft power with hard consequences. By 2021, Chen Zhi's empire had grown too large to be explained by entrepreneurship alone. Its expansion patterns, funding sources, and protected status aligned too precisely with China's military and diplomatic blueprint in the region. And while Prince Group was celebrated in Cambodia as a beacon of investment, international observers began asking a different question. Was Chen Zhi really building Cambodia's future, or Beijing's footprint? While money built Chen Zhi's towers, information protected them. Beneath the gleaming surface of Prince Group's smart cities, casinos, and financial hubs, a quieter system was emerging, one that blurred the boundaries between business innovation and digital intelligence. What appeared to be modern real estate projects were, in reality, data-rich environments equipped with the most sophisticated Chinese-made surveillance and communications infrastructure ever installed in Cambodia. When construction began on Prince Central Plaza in Phnom Penh, contractors from Huawei and Hikvision were quietly brought in under infrastructure modernization agreements. These same companies, both sanctioned by the US for links to China's military and intelligence sectors, provided the backbone for the city's internal surveillance network. From security cameras and data servers to encrypted communication systems that mirrored those found in Chinese Safe City projects. According to leaked technical schematics from 2020, several of these systems were connected to data routing servers in Shenzhen through virtual private channels. The official explanation, cloud backup for commercial tenants. The unofficial reality, cross-border data access that no Cambodian law could monitor. The same pattern appeared in Sihanoukville, where Prince Group's casino complexes and technology parks operated under near-complete autonomy. Visitors were required to use local SIM cards registered through Prince-affiliated telecom providers, ensuring all network activity was routed through internal servers. Cybersecurity specialists in Singapore later discovered that these servers communicated with IP ranges associated with China Telecom Global, a state-owned provider with known ties to the PLA Strategic Support Force, China's branch for cyber operations and intelligence collection. Casinos have long been useful to intelligence networks. They combine large cash flows, digital surveillance, and international visitors, an ideal cover for both money movement and data extraction. In Sihanoukville, dozens of Prince-owned or affiliated establishments provided precisely that. On paper, they catered to Chinese tourists and investors. In practice, they became nodes in a vast ecosystem of digital observation. According to a 2022 ASEAN cybersecurity report, the region experienced an unprecedented increase in data transfers between Cambodian IP addresses and servers located in southern China, particularly during major political events. Former employees of Prince's IT division later described a tiered access system where only select Chinese technicians could authorize firmware updates or access encrypted logs. These technicians, according to internal rosters, were employed not by Prince Group but by subcontractors registered in Hong Kong, some of which shared addresses with companies previously linked to the Ministry of State Security. To most observers, these connections remained invisible. The casinos thrived, the smart cities expanded, and investors praised Prince Group's cutting-edge digital ecosystem. But for regional intelligence analysts, the implications were profound. Cambodia had effectively outsourced part of its digital sovereignty, allowing foreign-controlled infrastructure to operate inside its networks. Through Prince's partnerships, China's intelligence apparatus had achieved what military bases could not: persistent presence through private enterprise. By late 2023, Western cybersecurity teams began tracing phishing and espionage campaigns targeting embassies and NGOs in Phnom Penh. The source IPs led not to Beijing or Shanghai, but to business centers owned by Prince Group. When confronted, local authorities dismissed the reports as technical coincidences. Yet for those tracking the evidence, the pattern was unmistakable: an empire of real estate that doubled as an empire of access. Chen Zhi's business model had evolved beyond finance. His empire was now a digital bridge connecting Cambodia's servers, citizens, and government networks directly into Beijing's strategic architecture. And as one analyst put it bluntly, you don't need soldiers when you already own the data. While the intelligence web ensured control over information, Chen Zhi's true invincibility came from politics. His empire thrived not because of what it built, but because of who it protected and who protected it. In Phnom Penh's elite circles, Prince Group wasn't just a business consortium, it was a political tool, quietly serving as the unofficial interface between Beijing's influence campaigns and Cambodia's ruling establishment. At the height of his power, Chen Zhi's name appeared alongside those of senior officials at charity galas, infrastructure signings, and educational partnerships. These events were more than photo opportunities, they were transactions of loyalty. Through the Prince Foundation, Chen Zhi donated millions to government programs, universities, and local military initiatives. In return, his projects received unprecedented access, often bypassing bureaucratic restrictions that would cripple any domestic developer. Each donation functioned as diplomatic currency, buying not only goodwill but legal insulation. Behind the scenes, the strategy mirrored China's broader diplomatic playbook in Southeast Asia, using private businessmen to achieve what embassies and generals could not. The United Front Work Department, UFWD, Beijing's soft power arm, relies on entrepreneurs abroad to influence local policy and maintain pro-China sentiment. In this ecosystem, Chen Zhi was more than a financier. He was a conduit of strategic persuasion, his fortune serving as the economic face of political alignment. Western analysts began referring to his role as shadow diplomacy, a channel through which Chinese influence could move freely without the burden of state accountability. Whenever Beijing faced criticism for military or intelligence activity in Cambodia, the response was always the same. These are private investors, not state agents. And that plausible deniability was the cornerstone of Chen Zhi's immunity. Even when international watchdogs exposed allegations of forced labor and financial crimes within Chinese-operated zones in Sihanoukville, local authorities avoided direct confrontation. Prince Group's legal teams ensured every inquiry hit a dead end. One internal memo from a Western embassy described the situation bluntly. Prince Group is not a company, it's a firewall. Political protection extended beyond Cambodia's borders. Chen Zhi cultivated relationships with regional elites in Laos, Thailand, and Myanmar, offering development loans and partnerships that mirrored China's Belt and Road investments. In each case, the deals followed the same pattern: Chinese capital, local legitimacy, and silence in return. This network created a feedback loop of mutual protection. Beijing shielded its strategic entrepreneurs from scrutiny, and those entrepreneurs in turn advanced China's geopolitical interests through seemingly private ventures. Within Cambodia, Chen Zhi's power reached such heights that even foreign diplomats privately referred to him as the de facto Chinese envoy, capable of achieving results more efficiently than any embassy. When the US announced sanctions targeting his corporate network, the Cambodian government dismissed them as unfriendly acts against national development. It wasn't just loyalty, it was dependency. Prince Group had become so embedded in the national economy that punishing Chen Zhi meant punishing Cambodia itself. By 2025, his position had evolved from tycoon to unofficial power broker, a man who didn't need political office to command political protection. His wealth built alliances, his projects built narratives, and his silence built security. And as one Western intelligence officer put it, every government needs a middleman. Beijing just built the perfect one. Across the region, the pattern that began with Chen Zhi was repeating itself, a quiet convergence of capital, politics, and covert strategy reshaping the map of Southeast Asia. Cambodia was only one square on a larger chessboard. In Laos, Chinese-backed conglomerates were buying up strategic land near rail corridors and energy grids. In Myanmar, construction firms with links to state defense contractors were building ports under the guise of development. In Thailand, industrial parks financed by Chinese investors were emerging near military zones once monitored by the West. Each project looked harmless, even beneficial. Each was accompanied by smiling ribbon-cutting ceremonies, glowing headlines, and promises of growth. Yet when analysts overlaid these developments on defense maps, they saw a disturbing pattern. Every commercial hub was strategically positioned along logistical routes vital to China's regional projection: ports, highways, and digital corridors connecting the South China Sea to the Indian Ocean. The Prince Group model, a fusion of private investment and political influence, had become the prototype for Beijing's modern expansion. It replaced gunboats with glass towers, consulates with casinos, and soldiers with businessmen. Where old imperial powers had relied on colonies, China relied on contracts. For Chen Zhi, this strategy offered both opportunity and protection. As Western pressure mounted and sanctions spread, Beijing's silence spoke volumes. There was no public defense, no denial, only quiet continuity. His empire endured, evolving alongside China's regional ambitions. Every project he launched served a dual purpose: profit for him, presence for Beijing. Today, Southeast Asia is not divided by armies, but by allegiances, by who builds, who funds, and who controls the invisible networks beneath the surface. In that landscape, Chen Zhi was never just a businessman. He was a move on the board, one piece among many in a game that no nation publicly admits to playing. And while the world debates military bases and maritime boundaries, the true front line lies elsewhere. In the contracts signed in Phnom Penh, the data flowing from Sihanoukville, and the fortunes built by those who understand that money moves faster than troops and lasts longer than war. In the story of Chen Zhi, the line between ambition and allegiance has always been razor thin. His rise reshaped Cambodia's economy, but it also blurred the border between private enterprise and national strategy. What began as the ascent of a mysterious billionaire evolved into something far larger, a reflection of how modern power no longer relies on armies or flags, but on networks, influence, and control over information. Chen Zhi may never stand on a battlefield, yet his empire moves like a military campaign, precise, coordinated, and protected. Each skyscraper, casino, and offshore account forms part of a structure that extends far beyond profit, one that connects Phnom Penh to Beijing and the South China Sea to global finance hubs. To some, he is a visionary investor who brought prosperity to Cambodia. To others, he is the architect of China's invisible expansion, a man whose fortune became the currency of influence across Southeast Asia. And while the world searches for evidence, documents, sanctions, confessions, the truth may already be hidden in plain sight, in the glass towers, in the encrypted data, and in the silence of those who know too much. Because in the modern age, the battlefield has changed. It's no longer fought with guns or ships, but with contracts, code, and capital. And Chen Zhi, whether by design or by destiny, may be the most powerful soldier of them all.